Hi guys, welcome to my first episode of my podcast. First, let me do a little self-introduction. The Swiss Statistician is the name of my channel. The Swiss Statistician exposes cultures, languages, creepiness, traveling. He exposes creepiness both about himself and about people that he cares about. What else? Let me look at the thing that I wrote. He's also good at creating various fantasies because that makes him happy. That's one thing he's good at. He makes podcasts and he posts funny videos on TikTok. He's already posted a couple videos on TikTok.
So yes.
Yeah.
What's the name of this?
Swiss Statistician.
Swiss as in Switzerland?
Yeah, Swiss as in someone from Switzerland.
Okay. Just checking. Okay.
So today my guest is Dr. Russell Tanenbaum. He used to be an English teacher of mine. Maybe he's still an English teacher of mine. Dr. Tanenbaum is from New York City. He got his PhD in linguistics from Stony Brook University. He speaks multiple languages, including both French and Mandarin Chinese. He's very well traveled. He spent a lot of time in Asia and in Europe. Okay, so welcome to my podcast, Russell.
Thank you very much for having me, Jinglong.
Jinglong, yeah, that's the first thing we're gonna talk about, Jinglong. Let's solve the mystery. How the hell should we pronounce my name? Jinglong Wang. Yeah, I can give my theory. So
Sure.
The first name, Jinglong. Let's see, the first sound, the J sound. It's not the J sound in English. And when I say Jing, some Americans will think that I'm saying the Z sound. Like my theory is, it's kind of in between, like between the J sound and Z sound, but it's neither.
Right. I think they call it an apico-alveolar affricate. This G. And they don't exist in English. It's sort of somewhere between a G, which is kind of a palatal sound in English, and a Z, like a DZ sound, which is more made at the teeth or at the alveolar ridge. And so when I was learning Chinese for the first time many years ago, it took me a good hour or 2 hours with my little recording, looking at the mirror, saying, trying to get the ji qi xi. But about after an hour, I was able to get it. But of course, when you meet someone at a party, you need a shortcut, right? You're probably not going to get them to exactly say it. So I guess the first question, if my mother were to pronounce your name, I told her you were visiting me, and so far, from Indiana, and so far she's just been calling you Indiana Jones. Oh, is Indiana Jones coming tomorrow? But if she had to pronounce your actual name, it would be, she would probably say Jinglong or Jinglong or something like that. I imagine that's what your friends say. What do your friends say?
I think they just say it in the average American way, Jinglong.
Jinglong.
Or Jinglong. I don't know. Do they stress the first syllable or the second syllable? I'm not even sure.
Jinglong.
Jinglong or Jinglong.
Well, neither vowel is reduced, so it's not a huge, difference whether one you say. The short answer is I think the first. That's how I would probably do it. Of course, I have a bias because I know what the Mandarin pronunciation is, and there's tones to it as well. But so if I had your name, and I were meeting someone at a party, and I wanted them to give them something that they could digest, right, and repeat, I would say it's Jinglong, Jing like jingle bells, and long. You could, well, if long is okay for you, then you could just say long, like Long Island. But if you wanted them to say long,
yeah, long. That's what I want because
long.
That's the way to do it. Long. So I think the vowel sound in long is like the u sound, like the goose vowel. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, so that way, if it were a goose fowl, that'd be long, long,
Yeah,
long,
long.
long. But if I were to say so I'm gonna say it long. And if I were to say it long. So for me, it could be u or o, and that's a distinction that maybe is not like both are acceptable as dragon in Chinese.
Yeah.
Long, long, jing long. So they might say, so if they were doing a goose fowl, then it would probably be jing long.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you like that better than jing long?
Yeah, I like that better.
Loong.
The goose vowel
Loong.
better.
Loong. We don't really loong.
Loong.
Isn't a syllable in any word in English, but it's perfectly pronounceable. Loong. 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 Jing loong. 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 Jing loong. Jing loong. Loong. Jing long. Long loong. Long like long. Long. Well, I would say it's like long, but instead of the vowels a little bit, not long, but long, or lung or something like that. And then they can like, okay, it's like long, but a little different, but more of an oo. It's like long, but more of an oo sound, loom, loom. Okay. Or more, you could say it's like long, but more of an o sound, like long, jing long. Then they'll probably say, hey, jing long, and you might like that better.
Okay, so in summary, the J sound is too tricky. Just do whatever you want, and that long sound you can do wu sound or.
Yeah. But if it's like an 80-year-old grandma, then just say long like Long Island.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then my last name, Wang. That shouldn't be tricky. I mean it's. The spelling doesn't really match the pronunciation because W-A-N-G, it's just more natural to pronounce it like Wang, but it's not that. It's actually Wang.
It's actually Wang.
Yeah, that A sound is like the A sound in car, but not the A sound in cat. That's what I think.
Yeah, but I guess that one. If they were given W-O-N-G, which is sometimes like the Cantonese spelling of that name, then they have no choice but to say Wang. At Stony Brook there's a center, and I guess it's called the Wang Center, but sometimes people call it the Wang Center. And Wang has another meaning in English. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah. Male genital.
Yes, male genitals. Yes. I think there was also a center that like the Sackler Center or something. We called it the Sack, and so there was the Wang and the Sack. Sack is like.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
Sack is like ball sack, like ball. So
okay.
So it's the full. You've got the full parts of the male genitals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you like it when people pronounce it more authentically.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, especially when I call someone, like the customer service. Somehow, a lot of them they are able to say Wang. They don't say Wang.
Reminds.
And also like a lot of Americans they're into Japanese anime. So like the animation is anime, but the Japanese comic is manga,
Right.
M-A-N-G-A. Like they're able to say manga instead of a manga.
Right. So it's an interesting. You could compare manga and mango, right?
Oh yeah.
Because they're both spelled the same, but we know that. I think you could almost say that we have two phonologies in English. We have a phonology that's sort of like a sound, the logic of a sound system, right, or an accent, or a means of pronunciation, a method of pronunciation. We have one for native English words and one for clearly foreign words. So like when it's clearly foreign, the letter A is pronounced as more of an ah. So words like manga, taco, I don't know.
Pasta.
Pasta, very good. Yeah. and so manga makes the cut, but mango doesn't, right? That's more English. Interestingly enough, in Great Britain, in England, they don't do it. They say pasta taco, and they probably say manga, I would guess. But at least in America, we have that split. Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of so my name is Russell, and that's kind of hard to pronounce for four. There's four tricky areas of that word. There's the r, the R sound is already just hard. Maybe not for the few languages that have retroflex sounds like Mandarin Chinese has r. So you got the R, you got the vowel which is kind of a central but not reduced vowel. Doesn't exist in a lot of languages. And then the schwa at the end, this russell, and then the dark L itself, which is almost vowel-like. It's this velarized vowel, so very hard to say.
Yeah, and I personally still struggle with the dark L, but I don't think my audience members are interested in that. So let's not get into that.
Okay. Yeah. When I was saying when I'm in France, for example, there's no good way to pronounce my name. They want to say Russell, which I don't like. I don't like being called Russell or Russell. I much prefer even a Russell is much better for me. Yeah, or Russell sometimes it is in France. But yeah, so that's us with tricky names. But I suppose your name could have been something even crazier, right? It could have been like Xiao Jun or something like that. That would be really really hard.
Yeah, that get. Chinese X.
Yeah.
Sound like xiao. Yeah. I guess the second thing, since you already mentioned about England and France, and I know you spend a lot of time there, like tell us about your experience there, anything you want to share. Especially some of my audience members, they might, like they're American college students, but some of them are going to study in Europe, like doing a study abroad program. So share some experience with us.
That's it. Well, first I should say that they're two wonderful countries, both of them, France and England. I think there's a special, Americans in general, we have a certain affinity for England. We call in politics we call it the special relationship. That when we refer to the relationship between the United States and Great Britain. And in a way, we're it's kind of like they're our parent, right? We had a bit of a rebellious adolescence where we wanted more freedom than the parents wanted to give us. It culminated in the Revolutionary War, which we won. Then in the 1812, the British perhaps thought that that they could conquer us again, and we defeated them once more. But since then, things have been on very good terms. It's like the parent, the child has gone off on its own. The parent has acknowledged, okay, you've got your freedom now. You're independent. And in the century since, we've done very well for ourselves. And swooped in World War II to help them out. And now, I mean, we don't like to. It's not in good taste to boast, but America has the largest economy in the world, shortly perhaps to be overcome by China, but we'll see.
I don't know if that's good or bad. Okay.
But we've certainly surpassed the United Kingdom, and some people criticize, or there was some book that came out not too long ago that said that the UK was a vassal state of America, which is a very coarse way of putting it. But politics aside, it's a wonderful place. We like the British. We love the way they talk, and all the history and the kings and queens, we just eat that shit up with a spoon as Americans, whether we want to admit it or not. And it's a lovely place. The people are wonderful, nice. And the food is reputed to be very bad, but actually, if you actually go and try it, it's really fine. I found, and the prices are more reasonable, at least than in New York. Yeah, I always have a good time in England, and France is lovely too. I was a French major in undergrad, so I lived
really?
there.
Okay.
Yeah. I lived there for like 6 months years ago, and yeah, I like the French. Very, very polite. Very, they have a certain way that they like to get things done, and they have a reputation for being rude, but I think sometimes it's just that's the way they come across in their English, which is often horribly accented. If they say, do you have any? I was at a museum once and I asked if my stepmother and I were trying to buy something, and the woman at the gift shop said, "No, we do not have it. No, sir. No, sorry." And my stepmother thought she was being rude, and then I double checked in French. Vous n'en avez plus? And she's like, "Ah non, désolé, on n'en a plus." And it just sounds basically the same message that sorry we're out of them comes across as extremely well mannered and polite by a French person if they're speaking French rather than if they're speaking English. So the moral of the story is learn French. Yeah, but really learn every language if you can. I know not every one of you is going to do that, but it's not it's not a bad way to pass the time.
Yeah, but you speak French like very well, so certainly you can. When you were there, you just got to know more about France, like much better than like an average American there.
Yeah, and it's fun. I think in general when you're traveling, it's good to have the attitude of that you're a representative of your country, and so you want to put your best foot forward. You want to show them the very best of America. And so yeah, and sometimes the people are very impressed. It's like, oh, I thought Americans are rude, idiotic, uncontrollable children. But you, Russell, you seem rather polite and well-read, and and I'm like, oh well, thank you, that's nice to hear. But do you agree with that one should be a representative of one's country when traveling?
Yeah, sure. That sounds reasonable. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you also study something there? Because you said you spent time in France when you were in college, right?
Yeah. For 6 months I was there at
study at a university.
French university, Paris 7, the Paris 7 is the name at the Jussieu campus in Paris. But it was good. Yeah, it was fun. That was 20 years ago.
Oh, okay, a long time ago. So what did you study there? So other than French?
Literature, really. Literature,
okay.
A little linguistics.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you find it like their education or their education system like very different from America?
It was the best semester of my entire 4 years at Columbia. That was where I went. Columbia University in New York.
Ivy League college.
It was great because it's very different. At least where I went at Columbia, they would always lots of classes all the time, lots of homework. Attendance is important part of your grade. There it's like maybe one class a week, I think, or maybe two, I don't remember. Very often the kids will skip. But all that really hardly any homework assignments. All that really matters is the test at the end, and you show up for the test and you take it. It was fun though. I mean, it was a great language learning experience, and so the grading is a little bit different. Everything is out of 20 in France, but they don't. But 20 only God Himself can get a 20, they say, and 19 is reserved for the king. So basically, the A plus is 18, right? Okay. And they don't want to inflate anyone's ego by giving them higher than that.
Okay.
And I got a very good grade. I don't remember if I got a 17 or 18 or something like that, but I remember getting a higher grades than my French classmates in the literature one for my essay. So I felt really good about myself in that. Okay. But it was a fun fun system. Really, they didn't have the same sort of campus life. That's very important.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. Yeah.
You're just sort of kind of there on your own, expected to find your way to class, and then when class is done, it's done, and make a life for yourself, right? Which is, probably, I don't know. I think there's a lot to be said for the American system.
Yeah, for example, at IU, like campus life is like a very important part of the college experience for like college students. Like there are sororities, fraternities, and we also have a lot of sports teams. Like the football team is doing so great now, and everyone at IU is so excited.
What's the team called? Who are they?
Indiana Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think like Hoosiers, you can call just anyone from Indiana a Hoosier, but
it's also
it's also like
so it's like go Hoosiers.
Yeah, also like people affiliated with Indiana University are also called Hoosiers.
Nice.
I'm not sure if people like who go to like Purdue, they're not Hoosiers, but if they're from Indiana, they're Hoosiers. Yeah, that's what I think.
Right. It's ambiguous, the term. Nice. Yeah, but yeah, very good.
Yeah, when you were in France, did you make a lot of like French friends instead of like only American friends?
So it's tricky. It's always tricky to make friends, even at age 20. I think it gets a little trickier as it gets, you get more confident in yourself, and you're a little less insecure. That's to say, you're a little more secure as you grow older. But also, everyone tends to have their own lives. So to answer your question, yes, I did, but that was primarily because I had a French boyfriend at the time. Eventually, I found one, and then his friends became my friends.
Oh, nice.
So in a way, that's my general advice for language learning is that you should start in the classroom and finish in the bedroom, right? Which is to say, get a solid base first, a formal, education. You have to learn the grammar system, the vocabulary. You can't just skip that step. But then once you have it, then you need all the practice of being in an actual community and interacting with native speakers. And the ideal way to do that is, I think, through a romantic relationship, nothing like that. Because, in a way, it kind of, when done right, in a non-creepy way, it recreates the parent-child relationship, right? Where the child is sort of feels relaxed and is able to play with the language and make mistakes, and the parent guides them and gives them good examples and maybe corrects them when they're on the wrong track. So that's how I learned. That's how my French got good. It's also how my Chinese and Russian. When I got to Russian, unfortunately, I didn't have that strong of a base. So I eventually did find a nice Russian boyfriend, and it was great. My Russian improved, but it didn't really get to the same level as my Chinese or my French because I wasn't starting off that strong, alas.
Okay. Yeah. Then, tell us about your experience in Asia. I mean, that would be like more of a cultural shock to you, like compared to England or France.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I spent 2 years in Taiwan. You also spent a summer in Beijing, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's great. Yeah, I mean, East Asia's wonderful, and yeah, the culture shock was a thing for sure. Especially, I feel like Beijing 2004. That took the toilets took some getting used to. And just it felt very foreign, very different. Fortunately, I did speak enough Chinese to sort of get my point across, even if it wasn't perfect good Mandarin. I was living with a Chinese host family at the time, very nice people. I still remember my Chinese sister's name was Xiaojia, and my Chinese younger brother's name was Hao Hao. But they were good. The mother was very nice to me. Always invited. She's like, you're welcome to. I think they were only required to give me dinner like once a week, and she's like, but you can come for dinner any night, you know. And but just if you're, let me know if you're not coming, and then I'll know how to cook. So they were good. I got a very good impression of China, and then later I lived in Taipei for 2 years, and that was I have to say it was a little less of a culture shock. It felt a little more, how do I say this? A little more developed, right? The Taipei in 2007 felt more developed than Beijing in 2004. And what else? And it's a little more Americanized from the heavy influence of America in the region, and a little more Japanicized as well, since it was Taiwan was part of the Japanese Empire for 50 years. So that was a little different, different thing to get used to, but nice, and then after a while, after a week, I think you can get used to anything. That's the advice they give to people who, if you put your mother in a nursing home and she calls you and says, I hate it here, it's awful, take me out, the advice is, be sympathetic, but leave her there for a week. And after a week, she'll get used to it. Same with summer camp, same with prison. And same with, study abroad in a new country, I think, as well.
Yeah. I mean, you speak the local language, you speak Chinese, so, but I know some of my audience members, some of them are also going to study in Asia, in Japan or Hong Kong, but unfortunately they don't really speak that much Japanese or Cantonese or Mandarin. So, do you have anything like advice or tips for them? I mean, I know they can just speak English there, without any trouble. But if they wanna get to know more about the local culture, how do they do that?
Right. Great question. Well, my first piece of advice is really try and learn the language if you can. Learn whatever you can. I heard once that if you're in a place where you only know 10 words in the language, you're traveling, you'll find that every day you use every single one of those 10 words multiple times. So really, any little bit will get you much farther than you think. That's one piece of advice. Also, you have to learn how to. There's a whole style of interacting cross-culturally, cross-linguistically that not everyone, it's a skill set that not everyone comes with. I think if you're from a larger city, like New York, for example, maybe LA, where there's a lot of foreigners, you're kind of used to listening to them and speaking to them. It involves slowing down, making your vocabulary a little more region neutral, speaking clearly. I find I do that even I do that in, if I was in Georgia, I was in the country Georgia recently, in Tbilisi, the capital, and in situations where I wasn't, I had to speak English, I made sure to speak very, slowly and clearly. Even in England, I do that because, yes, they probably would understand me, but there's no need to make it more harder, right? Because it's not the variety they're used to. Use gestures, say things, and what was a good, the word for, so we have something in, if I were to hold this up, what do you call this in English?
Paper towel.
Paper towel, right? That's what we call it in America. What's it in Chinese?
It's gonna be a little tricky. 厨房用纸.
Okay, 厨房用纸. Anyway, I was just curious. I was with my mother in London once, and she asked if they had at a supermarket if they had paper towel. They looked at her like, no, we don't have that. And then we kept walking and we found it. And we were like, oh, I found it. It's like, oh, you mean kitchen row? Yeah, we have kitchen row.
So that they have the same logic as we do in Chinese with like,
right.
which is basically like the paper that you use in a kitchen.
In the kitchen, yeah. So if she were smart, she would say, do you have paper towel? And they gave her a little look, and she, if you spill something in the kitchen, you rip it and you clean it up, then they would have got it, right? You have to be a little, learn how to circumlocute sometimes, say things in other ways, in simpler ways. I had a colleague once who was in, I don't know, they were in Romania or something, and they needed deodorant, and they didn't speak Romanian, so they go into a shop and they're like, hi. And then they're gonna understand that, but that takes its its own skill set,
Well, yeah.
But
I mean, so when you say paper towel, maybe people will think a towel that's made of
right. They think that apparently in England it refers to like the things they use in bathrooms, in public bathrooms that you rip, so it's like different.
Like a disposable towel.
Yeah. What was I gonna say about? I had one more point I wanted to make.
Oh,
so I
sure.
forgot. About what was I saying? Oh well, I suppose it'll come to me.
Maybe I want to say is, I would just say this. Like honestly, I think it'll be easier for Americans to spend time in other countries, even if they don't speak the local languages. Like, because obviously American culture is probably the most dominant culture in the world. You go to Asia, and there are a lot of people there. They are just interested in American culture, and they're just interested in learning from you, and simply because of that, they want to make friends with you. They want to practice their English with you. They want to learn more about American culture from you. But that's definitely not the case for me. And I'm from China. I came here in the United States. I mean, there are people who are interested in Chinese culture, but there's not that many. Mm-hmm. Especially I was in Ohio, and then I'm in Indiana. It's just like a very white dominant.
Which has, advantages and disadvantages, right? Because it's probably very rare that you find someone who's insistent on practicing their Chinese with you. Maybe me. but at least in Indiana, it's rather rare. So good. It's a great, for those into the language part of it, it's good. But it's also, it's a bit. I was very happy in Taipei. I was, studying at a school at a particular language program there at Taida, and there were it was an international group, but Americans were the majority there, so it didn't feel, yes, there was the foreign world outside, but within the school, among the classmates, it did feel very like home, and we were our own community. And the language we used was this interesting mix it was mostly English with a lot of Chinese expressions and vocabulary thrown in, because that's what we were learning all day in class, although anytime a little expression came up, it's like, we would just throw it right in, some, 四字成语, some four-character expression that we felt was appropriate in an English conversation. And that's what I know that like Chinese people studying abroad will do that too. They'll throw a lot of English even into their Chinese conversations.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because sometimes some concept or some situation arises, and the perfect word for it is in English, or in Chinese or something like that.
Yeah, I can make an example. For example, the money we use here is dollar. Mm-hmm. So when I talk to some other Chinese students, we say dao to refer to dollar. Dao, and dao, that means knife in Chinese. But if you just say dao, then other Chinese people here will understand it. You're saying about dollar, the American money.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Or you. So that's like if you say like I can't believe that 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 meal. I paid $50 for that meal, right? I suppose I could imagine in Chinese那顿饭我花了50刀 or something.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah.
But maybe you could even or maybe in another conversation it's like 那顿饭我们花了$50. I could imagine that could be the switch point too.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm thinking in my head, oh, I think we paid like anyway, but yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun to be out of your comfort zone in a new culture. It's very humbling too. Yeah, I mean, I very much like traveling to places that are familiar, that I know where I know the language, I even know the city, and it's just like a little escape, and it's not that stressful. But every now and then, it's good to challenge myself with something completely new, totally new culture, new language, new rules of behavior, just to keep me on my toes, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is, I think this is something that only people who travel a lot will understand. Or not travel a lot, but spend like at least a decent amount of time in some other countries, like not like short-term visit. Because you spent the summer in Beijing in 2004. So I would say this, maybe you know more about Beijing, where I come from. You know more about Beijing, what Beijing was like in 2004 than I do, because in 2004 I was only 4 years old, and I don't think I would have like that many memories, but you were an adult then, so you will remember a lot of things about Beijing in 2004, but I just don't really remember about Beijing in 2004.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a Turkish student of mine who lived in LA in the early 90s, and the early 90s I was 5 years old. Like, yes, I remember it, but different kind of memories, For him, it was adult. He knows what it was like to go out dating and go to bars in the early 90s. I'll never know that. It was a fun place. It was a very fun place. It felt, a little third world, but we enjoyed roughing it, as we say, slumming it. Perhaps that's offensive, but that was our impression. The impression of me and my other, my classmates from Columbia who were doing the summer program. A lot of construction going on, the city being built around you, overnight, having to navigate these streets that had gigantic holes in them because of all the digging. It was a crazy path. I remember once I was there was some Japanese restaurant, I think, on the campus of Beiyou, is that what it's called?
Beiyou.
Yeah,
Beijing 语言大学.
Yeah, Beijing Language and Culture University, I think. I had eaten there for dinner the night before, and then I realized, oh my God, I forgot my backpack with all my books in it. So I went to there in the morning the next day, and I said, I said in Chinese, I'm so sorry, I was eating here last night, I think I left my backpack. And they had to, and they're like, oh, okay, let's see. And I peeked in, and on all the tables of the restaurant were people sleeping, because China, and it made perfect sense to me because we had just been learning about the housing crisis. How there isn't enough housing, for the whole population. And so the same, the restaurant doubles as a dormitory at night. Anyway, they found my backpack and they gave it to me, and it was really great. But that was just fascinating to see that, at night it was.
Okay, 2004. Okay, I'll say this, that might still happen in Beijing even now. Like this summer, I spent this summer in Beijing with my family, and I visited a hospital, not a hotel, a hospital, and it was a little confusing because it was me and my dad. It was our first time going to that hospital, and somehow we passed this area in the basement. I think that's where all the
workers.
Yeah, workers or like the staff
Uh-huh.
working in the hospital. They live in that basement, and we saw their like bunk beds.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I must say, the living conditions are not that good, and it smells like it's not too bad, but it does smell a little bit. And I saw those like food on the table, like I don't think see any meat. I only see like mantou. Mantou is like a steamed bun.
Right.
Yeah, and not only that, also that because that hospital is in Beijing. That hospital is like probably one of the most prestigious,
Right.
the best hospitals in China.
Right.
So there are people from all over China, like visiting that hospital, like to see a doctor.
Right.
So at night you will see there are people sleeping, like right next to the hospital, like literally on the ground. Because
waiting in line.
not waiting, like waiting until the next day to see the doctor, because they just couldn't really afford to live in a hotel, because especially the hotels around the hospital are just so expensive. Yeah. So yeah, so I would say China is still like a developing country.
They go to see the cancer specialist, say, and then they get there, and the cancer specialist wakes up in the basement, sleeping next to 8 people, and grabs a bun and heads upstairs.
No, the doctors don't live there. I mean the like staff,
Right.
for example the cleaning staff.
Right. Yeah.
They live in those basements, not the doctors.
Right, not the doctors.
The doctors, they're not rich, but I think they live a comfortable life.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a student once who was a doctor. She was a OBGYN, that's an obstetrician gynecologist, in Wuhan, China, and we worked on pronunciation. And she, it was a rough life. Like, yes, she earned probably a decent salary, and had an apartment, and maybe they even had a second apartment they were renting out. But it's they really work you hard. She had to get on some bus at some god awful hour, like 6 in the morning, and then work a really long shift with her bosses breathing down her neck, and it seems like it's difficult to be a doctor anywhere. It's difficult to be a doctor in America. Lots of stress and pressures, and if something goes wrong, it's your ass that's on the line. But in China it seemed even worse.
Oh yeah. 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 I'll say one thing good about the Chinese doctors. Because they work so much, they just have like much more experience. They're just very proficient. Like at whatever they do, like doing surgeries or like diagnosing, because they just see diagnosing because they just have seen so many patients. They just have much more experience. I think they would have much more experience than an average American doctor.
No, I believe that.
They're just more proficient.
I believe that. That's the advantage of of working all the time.
So you can trust them because they have so much experience.
Yeah, I know a lot of my students. I have a lot of Russian students. Some in other countries, some in Russia, some in other countries. The ones in other countries, if they ever need a dentist, they go back to Russia because they're very good, and a third of the price.
Yeah, affordable. Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to talk about is, and I just always feel like that. This Americans are just so individualistic. Like in China not only China but Chinese people, or Chinese people living in China or Chinese people living in America. I think we just care more about each other. Sometimes we care too much about each other. Like sometimes we just judge each other too much. We ask each other too many like personal questions, even if we are not that close to each other. But for Americans I feel like are just like white Americans are just more focused on themselves. They they just think, oh, like self-care, that's the most important thing. I have to take care of myself first.
Self-care, me time.
Me time, yeah.
Yes, me
And
time.
then maybe after taking care of myself, maybe I can take care of my friends, my family members. Yeah. I can say, like, I can make some examples. For example, say like me and a couple American friends, we were at a football game. We were watching the football game in person at the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So I see, like, none of them has a drink, but I need to go to the bathroom, so I go to the bathroom, and then I just buy waters for everyone, and then I like brought those waters to them. Like, of course, some of them, they will say, oh, you don't have to do that. Why do you do that? I mean, obviously, no one will reject the water. Everyone drinks water, right? It's not
Right.
like I buy. It's not like about some like other drinks.
Right.
Some people might not like them,
Yeah.
but water is everyone. Everyone needs water, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, and I think that's a way for me to take care of them, and those waters, they don't really cost me that much. Yeah.
It's a very interesting question. As it seems natural to me, it seems like a lovely thing, for me to get a water. Certainly, I'm very happy. I never, but people giving me things is very nice. I once though had a guy on a first date show up to my apartment and gave me a Starbucks gift card. That was weird. But he was a little weird. Anyway. But that aside, I think you like the situation you described. That's great. Is that because I'm a little bit Chinese on that side? That's the question. I think, but it feels right. It feels like a nice thing to do for friends.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly in my culture, maybe there's probably minute cultural differences between the Midwest and the East Coast, but and it depends how much how well you know the people too. If these are people that that are friends of friends, then it might be a little not weird, but it's like you're probably never going to get that water back. Are you sure you want to waste it on making a good impression on someone you don't know? It sounds awful coming out of my mouth, but I think that's the calculation that we make. Like, why bother being nice to someone if it's not going to get you anything?
Oh, really? Oh, I mean, like, if I were poor, if I were like short on money, probably I wouldn't have done that. But I can afford those waters like 100%. They don't really cost me that much.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it's just water, but I don't know. That's I mean, I think a lot of Americans even would also get the waters like you did. But it's a question of what if these are close friends, then sure, long-standing friends, right? But the more superficial the relationship, probably the less likely you are to expend time, energy, money on them.
Yeah. I mean, some of those people, some are closer to me, some are not that close to me. But since we are together, I just figured
you can't just give the water to the people you like or know well.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what I think that bothers me the most is, and I'm probably overthinking, because as you remember this water, like the water incident, but I just doubt any one of them will remember this thing that I did about water for everyone.
I think people remember.
Remember? Okay.
I think people remember.
Okay.
I think there's some subconscious counter in our heads.
Okay.
Marking all the all the favors we've given and the favors we've received.
Okay. I hope they will remember. Like, it's
at a Chinese, our listeners should know that at a Chinese wedding, first of all, the gifts the gifts tend to be money, right? That's what you give.
Yeah.
Which I as a Jew, I'm very happy with that. I think that makes more sense rather than a pasta maker or an air fryer. I'd rather get money, and then I can spend it how I want. So whenever you enter a Chinese wedding, apparently there's a table right there with people where you give your gifts and people recording in the big book who gave what, right? Who gave how much?
Exactly.
And that's so it's I think that's a nice maybe in Western culture we like to obscure it and make it not seem like everything is as 计较, everything is as petty or exacting as you don't want to seem that calculating. But the calculation is still happening on some level of consciousness.
Oh yeah, okay. I mean, I don't think it depends, but I don't think people will really read that record book like that carefully. I don't. At least if it were my parents, I don't think they will look at that record book so carefully.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And as I said, the three statistician also exposes creepiness. So let me do something creepy. Oh, I didn't notice that. I was so locked in. I didn't notice that you were having trouble with that. I didn't notice that you were having trouble with this. I'm sorry about that. I was so locked in. I didn't notice that. That's what I'm talking about. They are so locked in. They are so focused on themselves, and they don't really pay attention to caring about other people. Yeah, maybe that's something I should do on my TikTok instead of in this podcast. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it.
All right.
Or anything else?
No,
Is there a point you said you want to make, but you forgot?
No, that's lost in the abyss.
Oh, lost in what?
In the abyss.
In the abyss.
Yes.
I don't know what that.
Abyss is like a big deep hole that never ends.
Okay. Okay, unfortunately.
That's where it is.
Unfortunately, you lost it. Okay.
That's right. Maybe later.
Maybe later.
But thank you for having me on this.
Thank you for having me. I'm staying at your apartment. That's a big favor.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. I guess see you next time. Next time the video will be better. The quality of the video will be better. This video is so blurry.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Oh, and I also have a TikTok account. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok.